Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moletrap here, bringing you the final game of the Group B of the round of 16 of the 2004 Ever OSL Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. This is the last game, and I mentioned it a little bit differently at the end of the previous game, Game 5, and I re-totaled. I looked at my fingers again and got the totals back, and it turns out that this is going to be the final game because right now we have Yellow in this group is 2-1, and Good Friend is 1-2, and these two players, Reach and Midas, are each 1-1. So whoever wins this game is going to advance with a 2-1 record alongside Yellow, and so that means there was actually no pressure on Yellow last game. But whoever wins this game will advance, and whoever loses will lose and go down with Good Friend out of Group B. So everything's on the line for both these players right here. The hope of all Protoss rides on this game. And I'm doing one more dual commentary, at least not one more forever, but one more for today, with Rise. So how you doing, Rise?
It's just been a blast so far, and definitely looking forward to the man toss versus the Midas touch. I'm real curious if Midas is still if he's in good form or not. You know, I haven't kept up on a lot of these games, and curious to see what his style of play is going to be against the man toss. We do see an early scout going out, and it looks like, or not an early scout, but a regular scout going out for the Protoss, and he's going to find out that they're cross positioned. So pretty long distance on this map to get across, especially with all that noise in the middle with that weird X ramp in the 4 bases. I would imagine if this goes long, late game, we'll see potentially some arbiter play. A recall would be, I would imagine, very strong on this map.
Yeah.
And Midas, I have no idea what he's going to break out from the toolbox here. You have any thoughts on that?
Nothing specific. I think that you're right. Arbiters are probably going to be good on this map if it goes to a late game. Carriers, I think, would also be pretty strong. And Reach, is very good at using carriers. We've seen him use carriers in this tournament already, I believe, if I remember correctly. I might be thinking of... Oh, yeah, we did see him use carriers in a PVT already in this series. So that'd be fun to see. I'm not sure exactly what Midas might be thinking. Yeah, he is... this is a time in his career when he was actually kind of stronger. He ends up being competitive for years after this. But, by 2008 or 9, he just wasn't really someone you had to worry about. But back in 2004, he was kind of one of these up-and-coming players that you had to watch out for. He beat some very strong players in the group stages, for example, going into this. So someone to look out for. We could see an upset here. The Protoss are all hoping that Reach is able to win this game in advance, but Midas is standing in his way and is not an easy obstacle.
Well, Reach is going to be a little sneaky here, it looks like. I'm a little surprised to see this proxy coming out. I'm real curious what exactly he's going to proxy. And what's interesting is we just saw the SEV trying to scout, but it wasn't looking for proxies. I think it was just still at that point looking for the Protoss base, which he'll find now. But he actually went right by that pylon. And so while he's down here, everything should look pretty normal unless he does a pylon count. Maybe he'll catch something sneaky going on. But he's responding with, so far, pretty standard play, getting that machine shop add-on on the factory. So I would assume that we're going to see maybe some vulture play early on, especially with the size of this map. I would probably opt for vultures before a single tank. But with a couple of Marines out there especially, he'd be able to just throw up a bunker and defend against some early Dragoons without too much of a problem.
Yeah,
but show us what's going on with the proxy, or are they going to leave us hanging?
Yeah, I think it looks like Midas does suspect, because we just saw he had 4 Marines and he started kind of sending them out to kind of look around for proxies in the area, and I actually didn't see what happened. Did my VOD skip? I'm not sure what happened. Maybe he just brought them back in. We didn't see exactly what happened with those Terrans, with those Marines. But either way, I think Midas is a little suspicious. But has he actually put anything in that proxy location? No, it was just kind of a scouting pylon. I think putting it there long term just to see, if Midas flew a dropship around the map or something like that. I'm not sure what the pylon's doing there, because he's actually just going to expand, get another nexus instead of any sort of proxy gateways or anything like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's the right play. It looks like Midas is actually opting to go for the mineral only to start. I mean, obviously, command centers are nice. You can just lift them off and go wherever you want, whenever you want. So certainly, he could just lift that off as he gets his forces up and able to defend a wider assault path from the Protoss. And yeah, I mean, honestly, this went from me thinking that there was going to be a proxy robo to, I think you're right. I think it's really just a dropship scouting pylon, which you see players do from time to time. That would certainly be a path you would expect to see them go down. This way, you know, if you're going from the top left down, you're not going over the expansion, right? Which is where, if you look, he expanded to the right on the bottom.
Right, good point.
So that does make sense from that standpoint. And we do see something out on the map. It looks like that maybe that's a vulture. I'm not really sure for the Terran player up in the 12 o'clock location. And man, Reach is looking intense already. The pressure is definitely there. He wants to win this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Reach, you know, I was talking about how Midas is kind of like, you know, in one of the best shapes of his career at this point in time. Reach is as well. Reach has definitely been doing extremely well. You know, in 2004, he is one of the top Protoss players, as evidenced by the fact that he is one of only 3 Protoss in this entire OSL that actually made it into the round of 16. So, and by the way, I was looking back, and Nalra is also one of the better Protoss players at this point in time, and Midas actually eliminated him from the duel tournament. So, you know, Midas has already eliminated one of the top Protoss players, or been part of eliminating one of the top Protoss players in this tournament. So, you know, Reach is, like you said, there's got to be some pressure on him. And we do see that Midas, I think it was really smart of him to take just that mineral only for now, because it's so much more defensible, because you actually still have a choke point. If you try and take that upper base, then you have 2 choke points to defend, and it's just so difficult to defend if the Protoss pushes out. And we know that Reach is a very aggressive player and extremely likely to go for a push. And if you're not prepared for it because you've got 2 different bases in different spots, it's going to be really tough to deal with.
Yeah, it's real interesting. You can see how Midas is being so defensive right now. He's got 3 tanks in the main with a turret. He smells a Reaver for sure. But there is no Reaver. There's no robotics facility or anything. So he's turtling up pretty hard, probably because of what you're saying. He's worried about the aggression from Reach. So very interested to see this first-person view of Midas as he's macroing up over here. What's very interesting to note is at this point in the game, he has 0 map presence. He doesn't have any mines out on the field. He hasn't left his base at all, which again tells me that he's expecting something. And now he's getting comsat, so we'll see some scans go down, and I think that's probably the point where we'll start seeing him try to get some map control and move out. And there is a robo facility now, I should mention, but it's being used obviously for observers and a shuttle being made as well, which is good to see that first-person view. Looks like he is not interested in that mineral only. He's putting a gateway there to just block off any potential hope of using that as a mineral only. And he's got a lot of goons out there, so he could probably make something happen at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. And actually, we see the shuttle, and it looks like he's loading zealots into it. I think, and we're seeing a lot of gateways off these 2 bases. I think we can suss out what his plan is right now, which is go in and stomp on Midas's face. I think we're going to see him run out with these Dragoons and go for an attack, and that shuttle full of zealots is going to drop zealots right on top of the tanks while he's going in for the attack, and he's just going to go for a bust. He wouldn't be getting this many gateways if he wasn't going to try and macro up. He'd be trying to get more tech. He'd probably trying to get another expansion or something along those lines, because I think he either knows or suspects that, well, there is a probe at that base. Maybe he is going to expand after all, but I just feel like with the number of gateways he has, he's looking for a push, and at least to do some damage and maybe slow down or stop the 3rd, if not completely kill him.
Yeah, and Midas is going up to 5 factories here, so he's just still in macro mode. He also put down a bunker, which I actually like. I think you're exactly right that Reach is ready to make a move. With that shuttle in particular, loaded with some zealots, he's going to just zealot bomb on the tanks. But that bunker makes it a lot less effective, right? You've got a pretty good cover You're not going to lose those Marines right away. They may be able to take down the shuttle before it does too much damage. I think it would be able to unload everything before it was taken out. But you can't just continue to pick up and micro stuff with the shuttle when you've got that bunker in place. So very solid, very low on the vulture count. But as he gets up to those 5 factories, they're probably going to be producing exclusively vultures for a while, and 2 tanks out of the 2 with the machine shops. So he's just in that power curve of the macro mode with those 5 facts, and he's getting some upgrades with the double armories. So this is going to be he's setting up for a longer game for sure. He's not interested in pulling at all.
All right, and we're seeing the Stargates go down, ladies and gentlemen. So looks like we are probably going to see carriers out of reach in this game. Yeah, I thought with 6 gateways off 2 bases, he was planning on going for a bust, but I guess he's decided against it. He does have that observer we see pulling up just in front of Midas's main choke point, so he kind of knows what the composition and size of the army is. So the two Stargates are down. There's the fleet beacon, so we're going to see this, and this is very, very reminiscent of Reach's game against Goodfriend, where basically, you know, he did almost this exact same build, and it worked out for him because what happened is Goodfriend did do a push, a very, very excellent timing push, when Reach had spent a bunch of money on Stargates, and he didn't have enough units on the ground, and Goodfriend was able to push across the map and take control, kill off the 4th and take control of the 3rd, and almost beat Reach. It came down to a hair's breadth as to who was going to win that game for a moment. But this map is a lot longer. I don't think Midas can do a lot wider, I should say. I don't think Midas can do the same kind of push and timing attack. I think in this case, Reach is going to have plenty of time to get his carriers up. And once he does, the carriers have so many ridges and islands and ramps and stuff to play off of in this map. I think they're going to be really strong.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he's going carriers yet. I mean, I saw the fleet beacon and I saw the 2 Stargates, but I don't know. I'm just not 100% there yet. I feel like it's Scouts BM. But
you think the fleet beacon is for getting a scout speed, so he can just make mass scouts?
Yeah, well, they have scout speed. What's the other one? Better sight range, I think?
APL sensors, the sight range for scouts, yeah.
What else could you want in a TVP? I don't know.
I hope you're right more than anything, Rise.
But
oh, is he gonna mind bomb them? Ooh.
Oh, that would have been beautiful. He totally could have pulled that off, but instead he's going to clear it out with the Dragoons and not lose any Zealots, which I guess that makes sense as well. And those tanks, all of a sudden, being so far out of position when the mines are being dropped, they're not even set up for this. The Vultures are way up in the front. The Zealot bombs are super effective being dropped on the back line, and that was a pretty solid trade for Reach, I'd say. Although, at the same point, you could say that Midas has started to establish some position that he can begin to push forward with. But there is one thing lacking from his composition, which I'm sure you picked up on based on the fact that we see Reach going for scouts here, is that he doesn't have any Goliaths to deal with the scouts. And until I see carriers, by the way, it's totally scouts.
It's totally scouts, yeah. Let's just assume that. It's going to be a mass scout build unless we see otherwise. I think it's a safe assumption. Yeah, that was actually, I think that was close. I feel like I didn't quite see it, but, oh, nice Zealot bombs going off here. That turret's about to come in, though. And more Zealot bombs going off. I feel like if there was a few less mines there, I feel like Reach couldn't quite connect with his whole army because his Dragoons were hitting mines instead of Vultures, and that gave him time for the Vultures to fall back. There, oh, we got some carriers. Carriers are excellent support units for scouts, so he's just making those first, and now he's going to shift into mass scouts. I can feel it.
Right, they do absorb a lot of hits, so I would certainly go carriers to help buffer. They're like cows of the sky, right?
Yeah, because, you know, then you have some interceptors to soak up hits from the Goliaths, so, well, the scouts do the damage.
That makes... I'm sold. So let's see if the game can reach that point where we see them pop out, but, man, I hope so, because at this point we're just going to be letting down the viewers if we don't. So, anyway, the carriers are out. He knows they're there. I'm curious if he... I don't think he scanned them because I feel like he would have had a few Goliaths by now out on the field.
We did see it for like a half a second. He has a few Goliaths already. So yeah, he has seen this coming at least a little bit.
But, I mean, 2 carriers, they're not going to do a ton of damage anyway early on. You really got to get to that critical mass of 6 to 8. Really, 8 I think is where they become unstoppable. Mm-hmm. And the other thing we've seen from Midas is he got that double armory pretty early on. So I haven't noticed him clicking on a single unit for a while, but I got to imagine he's at least 1-1, probably working on 2-2 at this point. We know he's got a science facility, so certainly he's able to start getting those upgrades going. And in the meantime, the Protoss is just starting to try to take over the map here a bit and get some more expansions up and running to buy time while those carriers are produced.
Yeah, and those carriers did come out at just the right time, I think, because look at the position on the minimap, if you can even make out the minimap on this VOD quality, but Midas is actually pretty close to Reach's second base. He only has to push a little bit farther over, and that's exactly what he's doing at this moment, actually. He's going in to take control of the second base, and this is what Reach does not want at all. He wants the Terran to be as far away as possible, and I'm not sure what he can do to stop this. He was kind of keeping his forces over on the right to make sure Midas couldn't move in this close, but he moved his units over to the left side of the map to clear out mines, and he's left himself open. There's 4 carriers out now. There's a lot of interceptors. I don't know if it's quite going to be enough, though. And Reach is not even going in for a defense. He's going for a counterattack with his Dragoons.
I kind of like this, and I kind of don't. The reason I like it is this is the benefit of a very mobile army, which he's got with the Dragoons, and he's hoping that he can defend this at home with the carriers, as unfortunately he's lost a decent amount of interceptors already, it looks like, as he's just attacking straight into the Goliaths. And while they're all the way down at the 6 o'clock base, he's trying to get as much damage as done as possible on the 12 o'clock base with those goons.
Wow.
We haven't even seen anything reinforcing to defend for Midas either, and he's going straight into the main base right now on the production facilities. Wow, SCVs are getting pulled to try to help deal with this, and I don't know if Reach is paying attention as he's trying to multi his heart out with the carriers. He's up to, 4, maybe 6 down there now at the same time? And before the tanks get out, you've got to get in that base so you can take out any tanks that are being produced that pop out, because as soon as he starts to get some siege mode and a wall up, he's going to be able to defend this real easily, and I think he's pulling back. He is. All the tanks are coming back. This is going to defend for Midas, but he lost his position at the 6 o'clock. I'm curious, he got that Nexus at the 6 o'clock? I can't tell on the mini-map.
I believe he did, yeah. So Reach forces him to fall back, and Reach attacking this top left position that I didn't realize actually was even taken. And Midas, having controlled the right side of the map, has taken one and is now taking a second base on the right side of the map as well. So even though Midas losing one base and is losing, well, actually looks like he's going to lose a second base as well. Reach is going to be able to take over some bases on the left side of the map, and this is insane, because yeah, Reach got all the way in because Midas was sending all of his units to the front to pressure Reach. He didn't have anything in back to deal with the counterattack, and Reach said, all right, let's trade. Let's see if you can beat my carriers. And oh no, Shuttle just dies. If there was something in it, that's a pretty big loss there. But yeah, so Midas forced to fall back, and now we have kind of a little bit of a reset on the positioning. Midas has had to fall back to the top of the map. Reach has forced him back, but that means the carriers are not quite as effective either because they're not as mobile and they can't get up north as quickly to help out with this situation.
And just a quick upgrade check. It looks like we're 0-0-0 for the Protoss ground army. Might have +1 attack on those interceptors. I can't tell, and it looks like the metal is at 1-1. Yeah, I can't tell what the carriers are at, but it looks like they might have 1 armor actually.
Yeah, and, it looks like he's 1 attack and 1 armor on the carriers, I believe.
So he is continuing to upgrade at this point. I couldn't tell if the armories were spinning or not because they're a little bit harder to see with minimal pixels. But wow, that's a lot of carriers.
Holy crap.
At this point. And again, the thing that Reach has that is so important on this map is a mobility that we are not going to see from the Terran player. He's going to have to split his forces up. He's got 4 Goliaths attacking directly, which is fantastic. Maybe he's going to get a carrier. Honestly, that'd be a little sloppy of Reach if he's going to lose that carrier, which it looks like he does.
Whoa.
That was unfortunately sloppy for him. And he's going to be able to take out that whole bottom right side, potentially at the cost of the top left. And if that happens, yeah, that's when it starts getting a little scary for Reach as well, because then he's going to be forced to defend back at the home base if the Terran decides to just push into that.
It's like scary for both players, but because basically Midas doesn't have anything to deal with these carriers, or not enough to deal with these carriers, and Reach doesn't have enough to deal with these tanks, so they're both just kind of not quite engaging with each other directly and just trying to pick off each other's side bases. So we're going to see the third command center die in the last 5 minutes. So, you know, the top left and the 2 on the right, but at the same time, Reach has lost at least 2 nexuses in the last 5 minutes. So it's kind of crazy, and it's actually kind of hard to tell where things stand right now. I believe, yeah, I think this left side base is the only thing that Reach has 1 base in the middle, kind of like on the bottom left of the middle that's mining, and I think Midas has 1 base in the top middle that's mining, and I think that's all they have left.
Yeah, that second base, though, for Reach, I think is going to keep them in this game. Although we are seeing that CC float over to the 3 o'clock position, so if Midas can get that up and running, he'll be in better shape. I'm also curious, they both had to have lost a lot of miners, SCVs, and probes from these attacks. I mean, there's no way you're getting away with all those probes from the tanks. Ooh. And he's out on the field now as well. I like it, but I'm not sure it's going to be super effective. With the sheer number of tanks that are out on the map is scary. That is a lot of tanks, but they're going into the carriers, and I think we're starting to get into the climax here as we've got carriers on tanks. Storm is out, blanketing the tanks. They're taking them out very quickly. The Goliath's trying to stay out of that so they can ultimately deal with the carriers for the long haul. But they're not getting a ton accomplished either, as there's just too many interceptors now that he's hit critical mass. The tanks are starting to try to launch an attack here on the mineral of that expansion we were just talking about. And it looks like he is going to get all of the mining probes there in the first couple of volleys. But again, with the ledges that he's working with, Reach is able to defend this, and maybe more importantly, he's able to take these tanks out and whittle down this force that he's ultimately going to be able to sandwich with the ground forces he's making back at home.
Yeah, Midas is not protecting his tanks well enough. He's lost 8 or 9 tanks over here on the right because he put them in position where they could shell the middle, but he also put them in position where they couldn't be defended by the Goliaths because the Goliaths couldn't get close enough to the carriers. So he actually loses several tanks, but he still has 6 tanks and Reach is natural. Can he get enough Goliaths in there to protect them so long enough so they can actually kill all of Reach's base? It looks like he's not even going to try. The Goliaths are falling back, and the tanks are going to have to fall back as well. The ground armies are finally meeting here. Reach has almost no ground army. He's depending just on tanks alone. And here he comes in. He's just targeting down the carriers. Targeting down the tanks with the carriers and pushing them back. The Goliaths, he just doesn't have enough of them to deal with both the carriers and the small ground army. And he's going to be forced to retreat. So huge loss for Midas there. He lost all of his tanks. And I really, he was in kind of a tough position there. I think he was forced to attack and shut Reach down at that point, but I feel like it was a little sloppy. He just didn't protect his tanks very well. He just let them die over and over again. He had like 20 tanks, and I think 10 or 15 of them died to carriers that were not being attacked by Goliaths.
100% mistake and misplay by him. I think he really should have been able to defend that a lot better than he did. And you can see he's getting exasperated at this point. There was an observer, I think, over at this base, so Reach knew that this was obviously the next target for him to go after. And now, I'm pretty sure Midas is down to 1 mining base, and that main base has got to be about mined out. Reach, on the other hand, I think he's still got that. He never lost that nexus at that island-ish expansion in the center. Yeah. So all he has to do is move some probes, make some new ones, and he continues to mine. But obviously, Midas is not going to let that go unharassed. He does send some tanks over there, but there's only 2, and there's only a handful of Goliaths to defend this, and he's going to the main base.
Oh my gosh.
Ballsy of him. I'm curious if it's going to work out for him, but as he continues to walk away from the tanks, they are completely vulnerable, and then the Goliaths just do not fare well against a Protoss ground army.
No, and I think those tanks were actually specifically to draw those carriers back because he saw those carriers heading right for his main, and his eyes were going wide with dread, and he's like, I gotta do something to keep those carriers from going to my main so I can build up a little bit more Goliaths. And it did draw them back because that was his only mining base. He had to fall back to deal with those 2 tanks. But yeah, he just doesn't have the Goliaths to defend them. But Reach doesn't really have a lot either. This Dark Templar picking away at these Goliaths. The last Goliath goes down. This is still balanced on a knife's edge, but you know what? I think it's I think it's falling towards the direction of Reach winning very soon, because now he's back up into Midas's natural, and Midas only has 6 Goliaths to deal with 12 carriers. Usually that's not the kind of math you want to see from the Terran perspective.
17 kills on that carrier they just showed.
Jeez.
And I got to tell you, I'm impressed by Reach's control outside of that one sloppy play where he lost that early one. He just lost another one right there. But one thing that he's been doing is, by not spending money on the ground army, he's been continually making interceptors, right? He's got to be spending that money on something. So these carriers are still very strong, even against a pretty sizable Goliath defense. They're going to be doing a ton of damage that he's just going to be able to pick up Goliath by Goliath. He's just sitting on top of this command center, and Midas can't do anything. If this isn't GG...
Yeah, he's just kind of like giving up. He sent his one Goliath that he had left in there, but it's just basically fish in a barrel. And fish are very easy to hit when they're in a barrel, especially when you've got 12 times 8 guns, and you can fire all that many interceptors into the barrel at once. You get a lot of fish, and the fish, being SCVs in this case, are just slowly whittled down at Midas's last mining base, and he's going to go ahead and have to GG out there. So Reach is going to advance. The Protoss hopes are still alive. Of course, there still is one other Protoss left in the tournament, being Kingdom, who's in a later group. But still, Protoss, Reach was one of the only 2 left, and so he is going to advance. So we're going to have the whole group ends up with a score of Reach getting 2 and 1, and Yellow getting 2 and 1, and Midas fought hard and fought valiantly, but ends up going down 1 and 2 along with Good Friend. So in a OSL dominated by Terrans, we have a group where 2 Terrans have been eliminated. So Reach and Yellow, the old veterans, evening things up a little bit in the ranks of the different races in this OSL. But you know what? We still have some of the Terran Titans left in this tournament, because Group C has players like Boxer in it. I don't know if have you ever heard of Boxer? You familiar with that guy?
The one who throws punches?
No. That his nickname is Boxer, but Boxer is a profession. But no, Boxer as a player, Slayer's Boxer. You ever heard of him? What's that?
Is he a dog?
No. There actually was a Terran player named Doggy who was eliminated in the duel tournament. Boxer is in Group D along with Nada, and Uv is one of the he's on an absolute tear right now. A Terran player that's in Group C along with Sync, who is very solid as well. So there's still a lot of Terrans left, definitely. And Zelos beat his group in Group A. So Terran's still going strong, but Zerg and Protoss showing that they're not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the videos for sure as they come out. I mean, this has been fun reliving it. Honestly, it's worth pointing out that at the end where they're showing the 2 players just how much this series means to them, and we're in the round of 16. You saw that sigh of relief coming out of Reach. Like, that was a tough game. Like, he was playing hard, and it obviously he got to a point of critical mass where it looked like it was more of a downhill glide than anything else to the win, but Midas made him work for it, and it was definitely a couple of contentious moments there where I think it was still up in the air for who had that game. So,
oh yeah,
awesome pullout though for Reach. That was a great game.
Yeah, I was worried for him for a minute there, because Midas got all the way down the map unabated and got into Reach's choke point outside of his natural expansion, and eventually pushed tanks in there and was killing the natural. And I guess I can't say, but I feel like a lot of other Protoss players would have tried to break that contain and just gone all in and tried to break the push. And Reach was like, you know what? Nah, take my natural. I don't care. I'll go take your natural. Let's trade. Let's see what happens in the trade when I've got carriers. So a ballsy move, but it paid off.
they definitely played chicken, and Midas chickened out first. He was the first one to go home and try to defend. And honestly, I think at that point is really where it started to tip into to Reach's favor. So I got a question for you though, which is now that we've seen these 4 players, and we've got the 2 moving on that we have. How would you have ranked this going into it? Is this how you saw it playing out, or did you think that it was going to have a different result?
No, I think this is the prediction I probably would have made. In fact, I may have made. I did a video at the beginning of the OSL kind of talking about who were the better players, but I also talked about how this is such a stacked OSL that's like every group is a group of death basically. So it's like you can't really count anyone out altogether. But yeah, I mean, Yellow and Reach are the top of their class right now in 2004, and Midas and Goodfriend are definitely solid, but they haven't proved themselves yet. So I think this is definitely the way people probably would have expected to go. Obviously, in later years, you know, you still see Yellow and Reach competing into like 2008. I think Reach was in the Air Force team for a little while, for example. But this was their prime. This was when they were the Jaedong and Bisu of their day, basically. So they were definitely expected to get out of this, I would say. Even though Yellow, like I said, had to come from offline preliminaries because he hadn't been in the previous one. So. Yeah, and Group A, I would say the same thing. Zelos and Jelizerg emerging from that group is, again, probably who you would have expected. But, again, it could have been anyone. Max is kind of an unknown player, but he tore his way through some really strong players in the group stages before the round of 16 as well. So it could have gone either way with that. And Jelizerg just barely scraped by. I don't know if you saw that series, but he actually had to win a series of tiebreakers after losing 2 games in the original round robin. So that was a little bit close. But, yeah.
Sounds like a good series for sure. I'm looking forward to the next group.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even just now, the round of 8 is going to have Zelos, Jelizerg, Yellow, and Reach in it. Like, this is already going to be a stacked quarterfinals, regardless of who gets out of the group stages. And we still have some titans like Uv and Go Rush and Boxer and Nada and Kingdom left to play. So this is I'm so excited about this OSL. It's just gonna keep getting better.
Don't they all feel like show matches? Like every single game was like a freaking show match.
Yeah, I think I counted, and of the 16 players in the round of 16, I think 13 of them had semifinal appearances in Star Leagues before. That's how many people in the Star League had shown their potential of getting, you know, close to the finals. And you know, I counted, and among the 16 players in the round of 16, they together possessed a total of over 40 gold, silvers, and bronzes in other Star Leagues.
Oh wow!
Amongst the 16 players, this is such a stacked Star League. It's just absolutely mind blowing. It's ridiculous.
Nice being taken back to this. I think you picked a good one because, like you said, there's just so many good matches, so many good players. Some of which are in their beginning stages, right? Some of which are in the middle of their peak and their prime, and it's fun going back and watching them all play against each other again and see how they stack up.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so thanks so much for doing these commentaries on Group B with me. And again, if you guys haven't already gone and done so, make sure you check out Rise's channel. He's doing some really cool stuff. He is actually recording replay commentaries. He has pixels on his channel, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want eye cancer, you should stop watching me and go watch Rise instead. Your YouTube is SC2GG Rise, right?
Yeah, that name has stuck with me since the beginning, back when sc2gg.com existed, and it just honestly never really made sense to me to change it. So me at this point, because nobody owns it, so we'll just go with it.
Nice. All right. Cool. So I'll put the link in the description though if you want to just click over to make it easier. But it's been fun casting with you, and hopefully, I'm sure this won't be the last time.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed Group B. We got half the quarterfinalists already decided. We got 2 more groups to go. Super excited about those as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.